So this is what I wanted to show you guys. The popular vote in 2020 looked like this. Biden got about 81 million votes and Trump got about 74. So that was 4 years ago. And yesterday, I guess it's not fully counted, but at least this election cycle, turnout was way lower. Trump got 71 million votes, so 3 million votes less than he got last time. And Kamala Harris got 66 million votes, which is like 14 or 15 million votes fewer than last time. So I think this really speaks volumes about how both candidates were just objectively unlikable. Do you think she lost because people don't want to vote for a woman for president? No, I don't think so. I mean, I know there are people who are not going to vote for a woman for president, but I think that very few of them were going to vote for the Democratic Party. At least that's the way I see it. I mean, Trump is more charismatic, yes, but also, I mean, her policies are objectively bad. She tried to appeal to the right for whatever reason. And there's another graph that I want to show you guys about this election. In the 2020 election, Trump got 94% of vote from Republican registered voters, and only 6% went to Biden. This time around, it basically didn't change. And think of how many times Harris campaigned to try to get voters away from Trump instead of trying to get the undecided voters, the independent voters, those who had said they wouldn't vote for her unless she put a stop to Israel's genocide in Gaza. Instead of that, she just tried to get the right to vote for her. She was like, oh, if I'm president, I'm going to have Republicans in my cabinet. Campaigned with Liz Cheney. Like, what are you doing? Not a thing that comes to mind. Harris says she wouldn't do anything differently from Biden over past 4 years. Like, we saw a lot of people said that their main concern was the state of the economy for these elections. You can't say things like this, right? You're already part of the administration, and the administration has not been great in many different aspects. So you can't say, oh, I'm not going to do anything different. Didn't Kamala say that she supported building the wall after opposing it for years? Yes, she said, I'm going to do the wall and I'm going to do it better than Trump. Yes, she went to the right. And that's the thing. She started supporting fracking and things like that. Like when they sent freaking Bill Clinton to campaign in Michigan to try to convince Arab voters, and he basically just defended Israel for no reason. Like, you could have just not spoken about it or something. What should Democrats do now? Let's say, you are part of the Democratic Party and you are in charge of running the campaign and you got shitted upon by Donald Trump. So what do? Well, logic would dictate that maybe you say, all right, it seems like we lost. How could this have happened? Did our message not resonate with the American public? Is it that maybe we are disconnected from the actual needs of the public? Like, where did we go wrong? Did we not campaign appropriately? But you can bet your ass off that they're going to go for a different route. They're going to be like, we lost. Well, it must be because of the far left who just didn't want to vote for us, and all those lazy people and all the misogynists who didn't want to vote for a woman president. There's going to be no self-criticism here. Democrats will learn nothing from their defeat, just like they learned nothing from losing in 2016. And honestly, if I'm being very, very candid, I don't think that Democrats even really care too much about having lost this election. I'm talking about like the Democrats in the sense of like the Democratic Party. Don't get me wrong, I think this will be very consequential for the American public. Very bad things could happen in these 4 years. But the Democratic Party itself is beholden to the very same superpowers, right? Super powerful individuals and companies than the Republican Party. So that is why the Democratic Party would rather lose and have 4 years of Trump than to have to go against the establishment, right? Because they are the establishment. They are beholden to the establishment. And that's why, oh, by the way, Republicans are not going to go against the establishment. It doesn't matter how much they claim they're going to do it. Neither party is going to do that, right? Democrats would rather lose than give an inch to anti-Zionism, right? They would rather lose than have to ask Israel for any accountability. If they wanted to secure the vote of a huge part of the constituency who are against the actions of Israel in Gaza, they didn't even have to go like, nuke Israel. Like, they didn't have to go like crazy. All they needed to do was say, Israel, if you want to continue getting aid from us, you need to be more careful of who you kill and have some sort of accountability. Like, if they had tried in any way to like minimize civilian casualties in Gaza, not even trying to end the conflict or anything like that, I feel like the Democratic Party would have done a lot better. The Democrats will never have a female president. The American people did not approve. I mean, I don't even think that it's too much about it being a female president. As I said before, I'm sure that there are a lot of people who may have a problem with Kamala Harris being a woman or being like half black, half Indian, whatever. But I feel like those people were not going to vote for a Democrat anyways, right? I'm sure there are some like very racist Democrats or very misogynist Democrats or something like that. But I don't think that that's what cost her the election. Again, just take a look at how the numbers went down from 2020, from 81 million votes for Biden to 66 for Kamala. That is 15 million votes fewer. Do Americans really care about Palestine? A lot of them do. I mean, that's like one of the funny things. The way that the Biden administration treated the student encampments, right? Tear gassing them, being insanely violent, demonizing them. You thought those people and their families were going to vote for you? Have you guys ever been tear gassed? That's an honest question. So I've never been directly tear gassed, but I've been in protests where the protest itself has been tear gassed, and I got like the side fumes. So I wasn't like directly tear gassed, but I have felt a little bit of what it feels like, and it is not nice. Let me tell you that. So when someone tear gasses you, that doesn't really make you want to vote for them particularly much. So tear gassing, a lot of, the people who are extremely energized, they are energized enough to make encampments. That's not going to help you. And yeah, and she also didn't distance herself from the current administration. My sister in Christ, just be like, you know what? Biden has made a lot of mistakes. He has done a lot of good things, but also some mistakes. I want to keep the good and discard the bad so that we can solve the problems that are affecting the majority of Americans. We are going to, revitalize the economy, and you can maybe blame Trump and say, oh, the economy that we got from Trump and whatever. But like, build a certain distance. You know that people do not like the current state of affairs. Like, Trump also got fewer votes than he did 4 years ago. So it is evident that people don't really like either party or either candidate. And yeah, the thing is that in 2020, there was more anti-Trump momentum because he was the sitting president and people had to see his face in the news every day. But she was Biden's right hand. She can't distance. I mean, she is kind of fucked to an extent. And that's also another thing that the Democrats did so incredibly wrong. They should have had open primaries. You know that your current president is 500 years old, right? It's not like Joe Biden's mental decline started in August this year. It's been coming for a while. But Democrats are so incredibly arrogant and distant from their audience that they just didn't want to do that. But this is not exclusively a Harris issue. That's the thing. There is an entire Democratic Party behind her. The campaign was not run exclusively by her. The same mistake that they made in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, they made again now. So the Democratic Party needs to learn something from this. Promises on policies, exactly, and good policies. There are objectively important things that need to be solved in the United States of America that are also very popular. The housing crisis, right? The housing crisis is one of the reasons why the Republican Party wants to deport millions of immigrants to free up housing, which is objectively a bad policy because guess who builds the fucking houses? A lot of illegal immigrants. But beyond that, they at least try to address the issue, right? Republicans acknowledge the problems of the economy. They acknowledge the housing crisis, even though I think their policies won't solve anything. And in fact, they will make everything worse. But at least they try to sell you something. The Democratic Party, on the other hand, I mean, yeah, they have some measures, of course, but it's just bad. And honestly, it's not really a countermeasure because the more that the Democratic Party goes to the right, the worse they will do because they're going to alienate their left-wing leaning voters and they're not going to gain any Republican voters. No one who is a Republican and likes right-wing policies will vote for a Democrat over a Republican. Like there's some like never Trump Republicans, sure, but we have seen that's a minority. That's a tiny, weeny-weensy minority. So it's crazy to campaign the way they have. Well, crazy only up to a certain point, because there is a logic behind that, and I want that to be very clear. It is because they have obligations, as I've said before, to certain financial powers. As the crisis becomes more and more difficult to ignore, you can't really go after the core issues. You cannot go against, wealth inequality, for example. You cannot really go about the problem of like massive land ownership, right? Having people who own tens of thousands of apartments or houses or buildings and whatnot. You can't really go against that, right? You can't really go against the military-industrial complex. So there is nothing you can offer. If you don't go against the root causes, all you can do is try to play some identity politics or try to blame migrants for people's issues. But that's something that the Republican Party is already doing. So what are you as the Democratic Party going to offer? You need to go against the root causes and be like, you know what? We are going to have to, build public housing. And yes, that is going to be very unpopular with some powerful financial groups. Landowners are not going to like that. But guess what? That's going to be incredibly good for the American public. You're going to have to go against big pharma. And if you try to get some sort of national healthcare program to increase the affordability and availability, that's going to go against very powerful interests. If you try to legalize, which, like I say, the illegal immigrants, so that they can become a recognized part of society, that's going to go against a lot of people as well. But those are the morally correct things to do, and also what is going to have the best impact in the country.